Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited to get started on today's training around government conferences, but in particular VETS24. A lot of our community is down there. Thanks for engaging in the chat, letting us know who you are, or just saying hi. That's always good. Let me turn off these captions and we will get rocking and rolling. I wanted to just start off with a quick tip as a way to say thank you to those showing up early and on time. A quick tip for success is today is this idea of giving until it hurts. People say it in many different ways, but I like the whole idea of give till it hurts, or it feels like you give too much or too long. I've been doing this for 7 years. Right, 2018 is when late 2017, 2018 is when I started the GovCon Chamber, and I have just been giving constantly out there. Anything I know about the how I give, and I really have been giving without any expectation except for your success. But one of the things that I have noticed is that over the last 7 years, and so we're into our 7th year here, we have really seen this massive explosion in reach that we have, which is good for us because it enables us to do even more for you and for the others in the community. And an example of what I mean is I am having these large federal agencies reach out and ask me and ask the chamber if we can help them reach you and reach industry, right? That's a huge thing for us because when we start working with them, then we can go back to them and say, hey, happy to do that. Could you bring program offices and contracting officers forward and let us share their message, et cetera? And so for you and your company, I highly encourage you to give that same way of information. If you've got a lot of insight on water, if you can't write a big white paper, then maybe you write 3 steps in a LinkedIn post or something that says, hey, top 3 things to think about for water in 2025 or whatever, right? I just happened to notice Jay Madigan in there. But whatever your expertise is, that's one of the easiest things that you can give that costs nothing but time. And the time can be maintained 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you think is worthwhile, a week, a day, but give until it hurts and then keep giving more. All right, that's just a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time. Let me get rocking and rolling on sharing my slides, or actually I'll share them in a second. Today, if you're familiar with my training style, I'm going to do some slides that I'm going to do back and forth into the web. Conferences in the federal market, they happen every single month. In fact, I was watching somebody, or several people had this dialogue back and forth. Are you going down to VETS? No, I'm not there. I'm over here at this conference. I was like, wow, 2 conferences, exact same day. Oh, I'm over at this other one. I was like, okay, wow, there's 3 conferences all happening at the same time. So there's a lot of activity always, right? And so throughout the federal market, everybody uses conferences, whether it's industry trying to host the conferences like this VETS24 is really, it's tied together with VA, but it's industry doing that compared to like an Air Force driven conference. Some of these conferences are small and very focused on a particular area. Some are huge, like VETS24, which we'll talk a little bit about today, or a lot. But that one's huge, almost 2,000 attendees, right? But you need a plan for success when you're going to go down to a conference, or for the few people who are farther south coming up to a conference like VETS24, right? You need to have a plan in place for success, to measure success. So you don't just go to an event, but you make sure that event was worth it for you, for your company. You're taking time away from your family or from your business and the other activities you could be doing. And when you have a plan, it really works. I have a customer asked me to go with them to an Air Force conference, a huge conference. I think it was, I can't remember where it was at, but I think it was Florida. And we went to this huge conference, and this guy has 20 years experience doing business development. And when we were down there, it was funny for me because I would watch him walk around and everybody would stop us because they knew him, right? I was there shoulder surfing with him to kind of help him become better at networking and really getting stuff done. But everybody knew him, so his network was strong. Everybody was stopping and saying, hey, good to see you again. But what I noticed was that it was kind of like, good to see you since that last conference. And that was this thing that was lacking. And what he and I worked on, and what I'm going to talk to you about today, is you really need to have a plan that you have in place before you go to a conference like that, and a plan for what you're going to do when you're in the conference, and a plan for what you're going to do after the conference, right? Collectively, those are your conference strategic plan, but having a plan will lead you to success. If you know that in the Navy, some event, the Navy's out there, you're like, I want to talk to Dave Waltz. I'm going to meet him, right? Hey, Dave, see you in there, David. you make sure you meet him. And I'm going to talk about why it is so important and really what you can do to make sure you get in there. So with my customer, and he's my friend now too as well, when I got him going down there, he started having way more success than he had had in years. Everybody knew him. He just learned how to take it to the next step. So it wasn't just about networking. So let's get started talking about VETS24 and the success guide that I want to give you for how you can have success in really any conference, right? When you think about it. But today I'm going to use VETS24 as the example. So first, I just want to give you some general guidance. I'm an opinionated person, and I like sharing my opinions. And it's important for you to remember the ones that you agree with and I can make a good case for you to follow, then follow them. The other ones, just dismiss them. But I have some really good guidance that I teach my customers and the people on my team when we go to conference. I'm going to give you some of that. I'm going to just level set on one conference so we understand it. So that sample conference will be VETS24. And then I'm going to break up today's training really into these 3 steps of how you triage the exhibitors, the speakers, and the scheduled sessions, because you can't see and do everything. Most importantly, whatever is top priority for you needs to be done first. So you don't want to do your low priority activities and then your high priority. So triaging is about understanding your high, maybe medium and low priority activities around exhibitor, speakers, and schedule. So I'll talk about that. And then I'm going to give you some final thoughts on what to think about when you're planning in the conference, etc. So if that sounds good, put in, actually, let's celebrate VETS24. Just put VETS24 in the chat. Let me know you're along for the ride to improve it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success and opportunities for you to network with others in the government, in the federal market. 20 years ago, for the last 20 years, I've been a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. And that's what we're going to be diving into today around a conference. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our government contracting success newsletter. It's the largest newsletter out there on LinkedIn in the federal space. And primarily, we continue to grow 1,000 new subscribers every single month because we're putting out really valuable information like today's. Today, we'll be taking this training and putting it out as a newsletter article with step-by-step guidance. So not only do you get the video guidance, but we'll have these step-by-step plans out there. And all of our subscribers will get access to that. The last thing is we got 4 more trainings for the rest of the week. If you haven't registered, register for those. For those of you who did register for today, I think we had almost 100 people register for today's training. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a little thank you from you to us when you do register. Last thing before we get started is I just want to share some exciting news. We're getting ready to launch govconinabox.com. You can go over there and get on the wait list. This is a web-based initiative for us that's going to really help people and companies under 10 million get to 10 million. And we're going to help small businesses focus on the 3 top problems. Getting in the door to meet federal buyers, finding teammates who are willing to work with you, and identifying, pursuing, and responding to opportunities you can win. If you're interested in hearing about that web-based product, SaaS product, when we drop it, go ahead and just sign up on the wait list, govconinabox.com. If you're already out there on the wait list, do me a favor, just put govconinabox.com into the chat so other people who follow along can see that. Okay, let's get rocking and rolling. I've got 22 minutes to get you 5 hours worth of content, right? So first thing I want to just say is when you go to a conference, especially the bigger the conference, it can be pretty overwhelming. If you haven't been to a type of conference, sometimes even the small ones can be overwhelming with 200 or 300 people at it. And you go in, you're like, where do I start? I feel a little nervous. Even me, when I go to a conference and I haven't been to that conference before, or I'm not kind of running the show, I'm walking around going, what do I do, right? And so one of the things is just admit that it's going to be a little bit overwhelming. And there's a couple of things you can do to minimize that overwhelmingness. One is have a conference buddy, somebody you're going to connect with and say, hey, let's go around through the conference and hang out whenever we need to come back. We're here to network, so let's make sure we keep meeting people, but we've got somebody to just go back to, our conference buddy. The other is have 3 things you can do the minute you walk in there, like walk in and register and say hi to that person. It begins to make you part of the conference. Have a couple of other things. Second piece of guidance I have here is there's this great line that says, Failing to plan is planning to fail, right? And I want you to avoid that. That's the whole purpose of today's training. I've actually done multiple trainings about this at conferences, how you can plan for your success instead of letting failure just be the plan. The next piece of guidance is it's going to go into today's training, but create a roadmap for your conference success. Don't just go to a conference, say, I'll figure it out when I get there. Why did you invest this money, right? That you're going to, whether it's $500 or travel, lodging, all that kind of stuff. Create a roadmap for conference success. And I got to figure the biggest thing you want out of a conference is to meet somebody. The last thing you want, theoretically, is knowledge. You should be able to get knowledge online. You should be able to get it virtually. But there's a lot to be said for going to a conference that has 2,000 people. You could meet some of those people who could really change the very direction or the success that you're having. You could meet 8 strategic partners out of 2,000 who might be willing to put you on teams, right? So have that roadmap for conference success. Don't let it happen, but make it happen. Make that success happen because you want a positive return on investment. Again, if you're going to spend the money, make sure you get something out of it. Each relationship should be worth some value to your company. Determine how many relationships, not business cards, but relationships do I want? And I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Okay, just again, kind of level setting here. Today's example conference that I'm going to use, but you can use what I'm going to teach on any conference you go to. This is VETS24. So it's a big SDVO, SB, and veteran-owned small business conference. It's around that. Any of us can go. A lot of us go in there. A lot of people who are not vets, that's totally cool. But the conference is really this big primary conference around the VA and SDVOs and VOSBs. But it's right now, like people are down there. Many of my customers are down there. Today's kind of an opening pre-day, and then tomorrow's the official day. Tomorrow and the next day are the big days, and then Thursday will wrap up with some little bit of small stuff. But it's huge, 2,000 attendees. And this is something I'm traveling on. Oh, look at that. Trave instead of travel. But it's a $500 cost to go down there for almost everybody. Not to mention the travel, for people who are driving down there, you're spending time away from your business. If you're staying down there multiple days, you got lodging, you got a rental car, all these kind of things, right? So there's a cost, and that's why I want you to make sure you're tracking on it. This is the page we're going to go to. I'm not going to go too far yet, but this is what I want you to see, right? Is that you can go to a conference website, and this is where your planning begins. Quick side note, this is the same as if I wanted to get into an agency, right? I'm doing my research ahead of time and planning for the success I want in there. All right, so let's go to step 1, exhibitor list triage. One of the things to keep in mind when you go into a conference, they have a ton of exhibitors. Some have hundreds of exhibitors. This conference, I think, has a lot less than that, far less than, I think it might have like 80 or so exhibitors. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean. But when you look at the exhibitors, these are the people with booths. They're down there, they're manning it. They're a captive audience for you, right? If you're in a booth, everybody walking by, they're not a captive audience. You got to try to capture their attention. But if they have a booth, then they're stuck in that little prison, that you can walk up to and you can talk to them. You can talk to them for a good amount of time. You can go away and talk to them again. You can go away a couple of days and come back. And I'll talk about that in a minute, right? But you want to prioritize those exhibitors. You want to look at those and go, well, which ones do I want to meet? Which ones must I meet? Like, this is top priority. And then you have all the others. And the reason this is important is because you want to make sure that the very first thing you do when you walk into an exhibit hall is go straight to your top priority. Ignore all these friendly people, head straight to booth 611 or whatever, and say, I absolutely wanted to meet the people in this booth. And then you go to the next booth, which might be on the other side of the hall. That's fine. Do not go up and down the aisles. Going up and down the aisles is letting the aisles determine the strategy that you have. But that doesn't make any sense, right? Every single person, it would be a different set of priorities. And so you might have people all around. That's okay. You want to get to them early. Another reason you want to get to them early is because they might have handouts and all these other things, but they'll run out of it the first hour of the first day. So if you make a point of getting there the minute the exhibit hall is open, you can almost ignore everything else. But to get there while they're the freshest, it gives you the best chance. And then you come back over and over again. The last tip I had here is mark it on your conference hall map. And so I'm going to come in here. This is the exhibitor section. And you can see right here, they've got a floor plan. So if I click on that, I'm able to see a floor plan here. And when I come in, I'm going to mark what I want, right? I want to go to 416. I got lucky, right? Missile Defense Agency. I want to go there. It's like, okay, I'm there. And then 206. Well, not 206. There you go, 107, right? National Science Foundation. I want to go there. I'm lining it up, and so I'm circling them. I might sit there and do it color-coded. I might do a square for the ones that are most important. I might sit there and do 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, whatever it is. You can do anything you want. My favorite method is using ABC, right? So I would put A on, where was I? That's funny. I already lost where I was at with missile defense right here, right? I would put an A on missile defense, for example. And whoever this is, CPA firm, I might put a C, right? I'm happy to see them, but I'm not interested in seeing them first. Let me go back really quick. So that was the hall plan, but here's the exhibitor list, right? And so in the exhibitor list, I'm just going to start scrolling down. I actually wouldn't mind meeting every one of these, going to every one of these booths, saying hi, etc. But there's certain ones I'm interested in, right? So I'm going to keep coming down until I see something that captures my attention. By the way, BAE might seem cool, but to me, unless you truly want to get in there, my priority is to see federal agencies because they're the hardest to get to. And I'll talk about it. So Booz Allen, all these guys, I'm going to come back. Groups like Capital One, right? I have no interest in seeing them on an A or B, but I might see them on C. But anyways, if I come down, now I'm starting to get into the Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security. I'm like, oh, let me write those down. Let me write those down. This is me making a plan and triaging the exhibitors I want to see. And if you keep coming down, there's GSA. There's the last one that's really a big one down here that you want to track on. There's Missile Defense Agency. But the last one is, where are they? Here you go. So these different Department of, well, I was looking for VA, but here's all these different departments down here, right? HHS, HUD, Transportation. These are a chance for you to get in and see who might be in those booths. So that's how I triage it. And then I come back and I go, okay, well, who do I want to see that might be the next group? And for me, that might be anybody who's a government contractor, right? That's how I triage it. Government contractors, everybody else. And so an example is Bank of America or Capital One. I'm happy to go to their booth, but they're letter C for me. Okay, so that's triaging exhibitors. You don't want to just walk aisles. You want to determine exactly which booth is the first one you hit, which one is the second one. Okay, you do the same thing with your speakers. So we're going to look at speakers in a second, but you want to prioritize these speakers by ones you want to meet. Now, when I say want to meet, it actually doesn't matter whether you meet them there or outside of there. So if you look at the exhibitor list, you can go down and see who is speaking and where they're coming from. And then you want to find them on LinkedIn. This is my goal, right? Connect to these folks before an event and say, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm going to show you, if I remember, I'm going to show you this guy that I connected with. Say, hey, I'd love to see you. I think he's from GSA, but he's in this technical side, which is awesome. I'm like, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you down there. If you're open to connection, I'd love to connect. I'll see if I can't bring up, I can't really show you because LinkedIn doesn't work this way, but I can kind of walk you through it. So let's go look at the speaker list. Similar to the exhibit list, I'm going to come in here and these are all the speakers that are over there. A lot of great people, but I don't need to see all of them. I need to see these people, then I'm happy to talk to the rest. Every single speaker in here is worth getting to know and put into your network, but not at the risk of missing out on the most important ones. Hopefully that one drives forward into your mind. So I'm coming down, right? I look at GSA, that sounds good. And then I look at Valerie's role. And so you can click on this and I can see she's a contracting officer and supervisor. I'm in heaven. It's a contracting officer, right? I'm like, hey, I want to sit there and figure out where she's speaking. Actually, if I click on this, right, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but I can see which code she's in. Which session she's in. But I would want to find her. And so same thing as I'm scrolling down, I can see different people that are in here. This guy here is an example of what I was talking about, right? He's a senior technology manager at GSA. I actually reached out to him on LinkedIn yesterday and said, hey, I'd love to be able to connect with you and be able to hear your stuff. So I can hear his information. But if I'm trying to get in and learn something about GSA and the IT and build relationships, get in the door, this is one of the easiest ways for me to do this. And then I can go out and follow up and find these people. So if I use this as an example of what I mean, let me close that. Actually, let me just check. I just want to make sure. It would have been cool. Oop, wrong one. Not that I don't like you, Brian. I'm just focused on this guy at the moment. It would have been cool, actually, if VETS24 had put the LinkedIn profile, but they didn't. So let me just do this. So I come in like this to LinkedIn. I come in like this. And then I click this and I type in Michael Burkholz. And there he is, right? I'm able to find him. There's my thing. It hasn't been rejected yet. And I'm able to come in and just verify, is this somebody who's worth talking to and meeting, et cetera. So here, I can see what he's been doing and some of the work he's doing. And it begins to interest me. If you're in the fintech space, he might be a good person, financial technology, right? And here's him engaged a little bit. Now I can see, okay, first off, he's actually not that engaged on LinkedIn, which is just a little bit of flag for you, and that's fine. But I can see Senior Manager, Technology Lifecycle Services. I can see the type of work he's doing, et cetera. This is all very helpful. And so when you think about scrolling through all these speakers, when you think about scrolling through all these speakers, these are just a huge group of people that you can reach out to. Actually, let me show you one person just so I remember really quick. So my buddy Josh here, Josh Frank here from RSM Federal is emceeing this event, VETS24, and he'll be doing the opening ceremonies. He's speaking, but he's also doing a cigar night tonight. So if you're down there in VETS24, you should reach out to Josh. Find him on LinkedIn, et cetera. He's wide open to be able to find. Okay, so let me close that and let me go back to my slides. So anyways, find the people you want to meet. And most of the speakers you might have a hard time, talking to, because there's a session, they come out and people are standing around talking to them, but you can easily talk to them offline. You don't have to wait at a conference. Just use the conference as a way to piggyback, saying, hey, Dave Waltz, I saw you at the conference. I wish I had connected with you. I didn't. Can we connect? Can we catch 5-10 minutes of just a quick intro? Sure. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes no. Oh, here's the note. So I knew I wanted to show this to you. This is what I sent to him, right? I'm looking forward to hearing your session at VETS24. Thanks for making yourself available. I'd welcome a connection if you're open to one, right? Very straightforward and simple. He can reject or accept my connection. Just so you know, a fair amount of people don't even see the note. Like if they're on LinkedIn and they see my connection request, they'll just accept it, but they won't realize I sent a message. Never take it personal if somebody accepts your connection and then doesn't respond. They just didn't even see it. Okay, so step 3 on this is schedule the scheduled session or the speaking sessions, triaging those so that you can't possibly go to all the events. One of the things I really like about VETS24 is it just seems loaded with all sorts of how to do business sessions. I really, really commend them for the work they're doing in there, but you can't attend them all. And I don't know if they're going to be recorded, right? And so you've got to be really strategic about it. And what I say is program office before all others. That means if the guy from GSA, Michael, is speaking, go to his event. Avoid what you can find online. And what I mean is me. If I go down to that conference and I'm speaking, but at the same time, there's somebody from the Navy, go to the Navy event. You can attend my training. You can just call me up or something. It's so much easier to get hold of people like me than it is program office. And so if you've got program office personnel, contracting office personnel or acquisition people talking, that's what I mean. Program office before all others, government before all others, not necessarily the small business professionals, because you can hear them all day long. But if you can get those people who are from the tech, and this conference has a ton of VA in particular speakers who are all around different aspects of the VA. The VA does a great job driving them in and making them available to industry. And then choose from each time block. We're going to go look at it. Last tip here, split the team. So if you've got your, couple of colleagues, don't everybody go to the same event. Make a rule. We all go to separate events. We come back and talk about it. What'd you learn? What can we take away? But if 2 of you are sitting in the same event, that means you're not using your time wisely. And so let's go back and just, again, show you. This is me looking at the VETS24 conference where they break it out into these different types of sessions. But I'm saying, just show me all the sessions. And so when I come down, Some of it is pretty easy. Let me just go to Tuesday so I watch my time. If I go into Tuesday, and I'm going to skip past some of this early stuff, I want to get past the sessions. See, these are just welcomes, and 9 a.m. to 45. So actually, these are pretty cool because they're all, they seem like they're trying to keep them all separate. But there are some sessions like this one, 10 a.m. to 10:50 or to 11 o'clock, basically, right? There's VA technology acquisition landscape. I'm like, oh, I'm going to that. This one here, build a qualify pipeline, is an awesome one, but I bet you I can get that on any other day. Like I can even go to Jeff and maybe find it somewhere. And then down here, I'm looking at government-wide IT marketplace from IT vendor management office. And so if I look in here and I look at some of these people, she's program manager for GSA. So this person is in GSA. I want to hear from the government. And this is what I mean, right? Is to begin to look at these and look how many sessions are simultaneous. I think it's like five sessions, 6 sessions all running at the same time. You've got to pick the ones that work best for your company and then send your colleagues to the other ones. Okay, just tracking my time. So here's some final thoughts, and this is a big deal. You really don't want to go to after parties, except for today's after party is a little different because there's not a whole big conference session. It's like the pre-day. So think about this like a tailgate party. Go to Josh Frank's party down there in Orlando. He'd love to have you out there. He's doing cigars and drinks or whatever. But otherwise, tomorrow and the next day, there's often like these barbecues or, hey, let's get together. And they call them networking sessions. No, the networking happened all day long. The only thing that happens at the end of the day is we drink and we eat food that's kind of heavy on us at night and listen to loud music, maybe, and then go to the conference the next day. We're there for business, right? If you want to party, I'm happy to get together in DC and let's go party. But if we're going to a conference, go to the conference sessions through the day. And when everybody else is going somewhere else, get a light meal and go process all those business cards you got. Any business card, respond to them. It was great connecting with you. Let's connect on LinkedIn. You can find them on LinkedIn. You can put a note into your CRM if you got one, or just a note for yourself where you're writing it down, or you can send it back to your teammates if you got people on your teammates that says, hey, this is what we did. So that's something that's really important is at the end of the day, work, don't go party. I know it seems counterintuitive. You're like, oh, I missed out on that event. Who cares? Those tend to be people who aren't really doing anything afterwards. What I mean was they're not having success after the conference. They just had a ton of fun. The conference is not so much about partying at night. And I know that's a controversial thing, but if you do what I do, you're going to have a ton of sales success. And the last thing is throughout the conference, take pictures and post them on LinkedIn. Just see a booth, say, hey, can we take a selfie, or can somebody else take a picture? And then you can say, hey, I'm at booth such and such today. It's exciting. And you can do that every booth. And I'm telling you, those people in the booth are going to love you for it because you're pushing them out. Yesterday I did a post on LinkedIn. Obviously, I got more connections than you do and more followers, but I've been doing it a while. But you can do the same thing with your connection. I did this post out there, and I had 234 people give it thumbs up. 274 people were engaging in comments. 52 people sent out my post to somewhere else, and they reached like 200,000 other government contractors through their network. And you see this, it's over 18,000 today of people engaging. When you take pictures and share on LinkedIn, you're going to be able to get some of that same traction because these people will appreciate it. You just hashtag VETS24 if you're doing it today. So here's what I want you to remember in the last 2 minutes as you walk away from today's training about government conferences. The first thing is when you're planning, always determine the top exhibitors that you want to connect with, right? And then go to their booths. The very first thing you do when you get to the conference, register. And then if the exhibit hall is open or the minute it opens, go to their booths. That's when they're going to have the most energy. It's energy like physically and energy emotionally. They're going to get tired talking to a ton of people. It's going to be when they're most willing to say, absolutely, we'll help you. At some point, they're just going to get tired, and not in any bad way, but we get tired after day 3. And then the other thing is when you go to your favorites booth, come back to it a little bit later in the afternoon and then come back the very next day. You will be sinking into the memory of those top exhibitors that you would like to meet, like Missile Defense Agency or Navy, et cetera. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If you're looking for help, we have a BD accelerator. It's govconchamber.com is where you can learn more about it. This is for companies doing about 2 million plus where in a 90-day program, we help you accelerate into the federal agencies. But for all of us, just keep taking the training and remember that government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.